In our last lab, we looked at the bell jar. So we discovered with the functionality that if I pull this plunger, it's going to suck some of the air particles out of the bell jar and push them through this section of hose because of these one-way valve setups. Now, what we noticed, so we have a partially inflated balloon inside of our bell jar. Now, every time that I take some air out of there, the balloon inflates a little bit more. Now I'm going to take a little bit more out. It's going to inflate a little bit more. Every time. So every time I pull this plunger out, so every time this gets pulled out, it's going to remove more air particles surrounding the balloon. I'm not removing air particles from inside of the balloon. I'm not adding any air particles inside of the balloon. So every time that I pull this, it's just pulling away the air particles from around it. And as we eliminate those air particles around, that means less collisions with the outside surface of the balloon are happening with air particles. There's more collisions happening inside of the balloon. Let's take a look at a model of this. So in the beginning, all of these air particles here are what's inside the balloon. There's no air particles on the outside making those collisions. So these gas particles are smashing on the inside wall of this balloon, which causes it to look very inflated. So because there's nothing else hitting the other side, it's able to expand to as far as the elastic is going to let it with as many gas collisions that are happening. So these are smashing into the walls and pushing against the edges of that balloon. So let's reintroduce the air back in here. So when we unscrew this, air rushes back in. That's what gives us our whoosh kind of sound, right? And that's going to increase those collisions on the outside of that balloon again. And we see it deflates, right? So the collisions now are less inside the balloon than around it. There are more collisions happening on the outside. So that's what gives it this flexible piece. So if I put this in a space without as many air particles like we did inside the bell jar, it will have more collisions inside and start to bang inside walls to expand the balloon. So once the air is let back in, we have the same amount of gas particles inside the balloon, but now there's these air particles on the outside here, which are starting to collide to the outside of that balloon. So that's pushing the wall back in. There's more happening here, so it's able to put more pressure on the balloon. This causes these gas particles to collide into the edges of this balloon here as well. But really what we're seeing is that there's more out here, so it can shrink down the size of that balloon. It's overtaking what's happening in here.